Part 4, Busting the Super Bowl of Greed. Instead of the Super Bowl of greed that is today's capitalism, we want to take a chainsaw, chisel and hammer, power saw, plane and sander to capitalism. We start with the most corrupt and cancerous part, the banking industry. Banking is an industry. They manufacture money. Here's how, quoting from Ellen H. Brown's most excellent book, The Web of Debt. Growth in M3, which is no longer officially, which is all types of money, is no longer officially being reported. But reliable sources in 2007 put it at 11% per year. That means the economy is growing by $1 trillion a year over that. Where does the money come from? It couldn't have come from new infusions of gold, since the country went off the gold standard in 1933. All of this new money must have been created by banks as loans. As soon as the loans are paid off, the money has to be borrowed all over again just to keep the money in the system. And it is here that we find the real cause of global scarcity. Somebody is paying interest on most of the money in the world all of the time. End of quote. She means several billion somebodies. How do we get out of this web of debt? We follow the leadership of our greatest president, the man on the $5 bill, with all due respect to George Washington. Here is what Lincoln accomplished in 4 years and a month. Again quoting from The Web of Debt. His government built and equipped the largest army in the world, smashed the British-financed insurrection, abolished slavery, and freed 4 million slaves. Along the way, the country managed to become the greatest industrial giant the world had ever seen. The steel industry was launched. A continental railroad system was created. The Department of Agriculture was established. A new era of farm machineries and cheap tools was promoted. A system of free higher education was established through the land-grant college system, the A&M universities. Land development was encouraged by passage of the Homestead Act, granting ownership privileges to settlers. Major government support was provided to all branches of science. The Bureau of Mines was organized. Governments in the Western territories were established. The judicial system was reorganized. Labor productivity, get this, increased 50 to 75%. And standardization and mass production was promoted worldwide. Not bad for 4 years and a month, huh? How was all this accomplished? With a treasury that was completely broke and a Congress that hadn't even been paid themselves. Lincoln authorized the government to issue its own paper fiat money, greenbacks, silver certificates. He authorized the government to pay and issue over $400 million and used that new money to pay for government soldiers, government employees, and to buy supplies for the war. There was some inflation, but that was due to the lack of supply of goods due to the war. Full-bore war is always inflationary because of the shortages of goods. We need for the government, President Obama, to do the same thing crank out the presses and print more money. We need for the American president also to have the power to nationalize the banks one at a time, to break them into smaller corporations, to reduce salaries, to rewrite charters, and to nationalize the Federal Reserve and absorb it right into the Treasury Department and print our own money from now on. Finally, returning to human values. I'll close with the greatest of all human values, for it completely unhinges the reactionary right with devastating gentleness. I again use media to ask the President and Reverend Billy Graham Jr. this simple question: was Jesus Christ a conservative or a liberal? I asked Reverend Graham Jr. because he is becoming a religious mentor to presidents, just like his old man. And he'll probably try a slick rescue with something like, Jesus Christ was not political. To which I would immediately respond, are you kidding, Reverend Graham Jr.? The greatest political act in history, sir, was when that semi-literate carpenter from Nazareth stood before the greatest empire this world had ever seen and said, hey fellas, you got it all wrong. It's not might makes right. It's not the spot with the dollar sign beside your name. Always, always maximize your gain. That's not it. It's really about loving, sharing, and caring. Now I hope you, Reverend Graham Jr., and Mr. President, and Billy Graham Sr. too, will join me in building a world of loving, sharing, and caring. Not a world of fear, greed, and endless war. And endless war. And endless war. Thank you for your kind attention.